Welcome to this episode of the Early Years Roundtable, hosted by Realise. I'm Laura Hodges, the Early Years expert, and I'm joined by three guests today. Who we have?
Jordan Tully, Managing Director of Toots Nursery Group.
Hannah Fleming, Apprentice Coordinator from the Old Station Nursery Group.
And Jenny Goss, Head of Early Years Safeguarding and Compliance from Total Nursery Group.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining me in today. The conversation we're going to have today I'm super excited about, and I feel like I've got all the right people in the room. We're going to talk about apprentices as our future workforce. So who better to talk about, right? I'm going to come straight to you, Hannah. Yeah. Tell me, how is it working for you? You know, why is it something that apprenticeships should be really championed?
I think because it gives everyone an opportunity, even people that maybe aren't used to standard ways of learning or traditional ways of learning, all age groups as well. I'm even doing one myself, so trying to role model to the others that you can do it at any age. It obviously brings more people into the workforce, which is what we need the most. Staffing is a problem, isn't it, across the sector? So we do need to find a way to rectify that, and apprenticeships is a good way to do it.
Absolutely. Jenny, how's it going at Total?
Yeah, really good. We're new to Realise, so we're loving it, having a great time. And I totally mirror exactly what we've just said. The workforce issues are there, so having apprentices on board is a fab way of training them with our values as well from the very beginning. That's what we love about Realise as well, because you work with us to make sure things like our curriculum are embedded with our learners. So yeah, we love it.
So Jordan, coming over to you, are apprenticeships meeting the sector's needs when we're thinking about our future workforce?
I think so. I do think that we all need to sometimes reflect and think about what we also want to get out of it and why we're pursuing apprenticeships as a provider. So for me, I did an apprenticeship myself, and I don't know how else I would have got into the sector without it, because I'm not what I would call stereotypically book smart. So for me, an apprenticeship route was the perfect way. That being said, I then can recognise the benefits of having it from a business perspective as well, that we are in a recruitment crisis, and we have been for ages, and we call it a crisis. That to me implies short-lived, but it just seems to be going on forever. But I think, and hearing how you guys have just said it as well, what is important is that people still remember that actually, yes, it's a way to solve the recruitment issues, but actually, I think majority of us are still doing it for the right reasons, that actually we still want to inspire, educate, get these people in, because yes, it solves that problem, or at least helps that problem, but also the difference we're making. And like you said, they're coming in and they're trained to your standards. I always say to my managers, if there's ever things that you think that aren't going well, it's because they've learnt it from us. So let's rectify that straight away. Let's make sure that they know our curriculum, they know our standards. And our quality leader always says the standard you walk by is the standard you accept. Mm-hmm. So if you do walk past and you do see it, let's say it, let's upskill, let's educate in that moment. And I think they are like sponges, aren't they? And actually, we've got a duty of care to them to make sure that we're giving them the best possible start into the earlier sector, and one that they want to then continue to be in.
But we need to keep them in good quality settings, don't we?
Yeah.
So the managers and the team that they're working with have to be knowledgeable, good quality mentors, don't they? You know, we can't, or they'll soak up the wrong information. So
exactly
that's the thing in itself, isn't it? That we have to.
I love that little quote you just said. I'm keeping that.
She says it every day. She'll trademark it, honestly.
She should. It's a good one.
So what do you think the barriers are? Because we know recruitment's been a challenge. We've spoken about it for what feels like forever now, in my opinion. And we are seeing progress. We are seeing movement. I am hearing settings that I work with not have those struggles. But what do you think the barriers are for young people coming into early years? What's stopping them from joining us?
I think the age-old attitude to what early years really is. Yeah. I think that doesn't help. I think it's a very different game post-COVID. I think when you look back at what early years was before COVID to what it is now, it's very, very different. Yeah. It's more pressure than ever. And I think if you're a youngster coming into early years for the first time and you're seeing that pressure rather than the fun. Yeah. When I'm an old NNEB, so the way that I saw it was, like art and craft and getting messy.
Well, that's how it started. started, wasn't it? Yeah, I was a volunteer to start with, so it was all about the art and the music.
Yeah.
Which
and
is,
just fun as well.
Gets
But
lost sometimes, doesn't it?
I think so. I think nowadays and if you look at the media, unfortunately, open the newspapers and that no one has a newspaper, but open online now in the last month or two, some of the stories about nurseries are hideous, aren't they? And I think that really damages early years, I don't think the lovely stuff is at the forefront anymore. So it's really more important than ever to focus on that play and all of the lovely stuff so that our apprentices can really understand how wonderful early years is, because we wouldn't all be here if we didn't think it was wonderful. We wouldn't be
or
here
doing it for so long.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But do you think it's the parents as well? So say we're talking about the young apprentices, it's often the views of the parents, I think, that become barriers, because they don't understand themselves what an apprenticeship in early years is about. They might think of an old-fashioned type of apprenticeship, which doesn't really show you what goes on.
Yeah, you're right. I had a staff member once, and she said to me, all of my family are like really high working professionals, and I'm just a nursery nurse. And I thought, that really,
so annoying,
that's so sad.
But I think we need to change that narrative. And I think if we were to have a real honest conversation sometimes, what you just said about like changing the narrative, changing the media, there are times that I, as a professional in the sector, I've been here for a while, so I don't know what else I would do, but when you go on LinkedIn sometimes, I think, it's a bit doom and gloom. So I think for these people coming into it, because we talk about like lack of funding, lack of staff, and then I close the app. But I think sometimes actually, if that was a newly qualified who's come on and they're like, excited, and then they're like, what have I joined? That's my worry.
Yeah.
But also, how honest are we being about what a career in early years looks like these days? Because, first of all, it's not what it used to be. Salaries, I'm not saying we're the best paid industry, because we are certainly not. I'm not going to be oblivious to that. But salaries are getting better.
And they never were good.
They were never good.
No.
They're getting better. Shift patterns are a lot more flexible. We offer a lot more flexibility.
So much more.
The work-life balance is something that's considered a lot more. It's definitely a lot more desirable now.
Yeah.
And I think that actually, do careers advisors in schools know about this? Like, do people know that actually, okay, yes, you may go in and you may start on a lower salary, but actually work your way up and get into a head office type role or a senior leadership type role, and your salary actually can be quite good. Or you can do a job that you feel quite rewarding, where you're not going to feel you're just out the loop in your family. You feel that actually, I run a nursery. What a great job. What a great position.
There are misconceptions, aren't there, about what early years is. And again, it's not just the parents, but anyone out there, unless you're in it, like we've all been for a long time, you don't always know what it is. You think it's someone holding the baby, or it's someone babysitting, which is a phrase I really hate. And it's actually such a huge thing and such an amazing thing that people are doing. So
I think you're right with the language. Something that when I support settings I really struggle with. I'm just there's no just in any job role in early years. You are fabulous and you're contributing, and we couldn't do this without you, because it takes so many people to make that successful. But what do you think we can do to support the progression? Because I think your point's really interesting, Jordan. It's not, we don't stop at working directly with the children. The ceiling is almost constantly rising, isn't it, in early years? How can we support that?
I think there needs to be people having honest conversations about where a career in early years can take you. I know that one of my friends has just started going into a different sector, and it was very, very clear to them, actually, you go in at here and this is where it can then take you off. For example, like a tree. You start here and you could then go down this route, or you could go down this route, or actually even if you wanted to take a side step because you wanted a change but not progression, you didn't want to regress as such. And I do think actually your level 3 in early years could take you to team management, where you're a room leader. It could take you to nursery management. Okay, that's still within early years. If you wanted to go a little bit different, it could take you down recruitment, compliance, safeguarding. It could take you
depends
to
on your strengths,
operation.
doesn't it? So people need to know.
Play to them.
You need to show them your strengths when you work in the early years, don't you? Because people who know you, your team will know who is into teaching, who would be great at managing, and it's. I think that's what it's about. Once you can see what skill set you've got, or your team has, you can suggest things. I know that's how my career progressed, because people said, you really love doing that, don't you? Do you fancy training to teach? And I was like, yeah, okay. But unless they'd said it to me, I would never have thought that was an option.
Yeah, they don't know, do they?
Yeah.
That's why I've never left the sector, because there's been too many opportunities.
Yeah, I think sometimes when I talk to apprentices now and I say, I started as a student and I did terribly in my GCSEs, and I'm not going to sit here and lie, I was not academic at all. It wasn't my bag. I knew I'm a grafter, and I haven't really done any qualifications since. Well, I've done bits and bobs, but no major qualifications since my NEB. And I say to apprentices all the time, look where I am. You can do that as well. Now, I can never do that. It's so scary. I'm like, it's not though, is it? It's not scary at all. And I love it when you see people growing, when they progress. I think it's so wonderful to see that. Really good.
And I think when we talk about apprentices, we always think about our young learners, those just starting their career. But actually, there's lots of opportunity, like you were saying, Hannah, whether it's sidestepping or future leadership progression.
I never thought I'd ever do any more qualifications, but it's for like a master's element. So it was now or never, really. And I thought, well, why not? I need to show that I can do an apprenticeship. I need to understand how they work as a learner.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, it's two birds with one stone, isn't it? I can do one and I can learn about how they work and what's great about them or what might not be. Your learning styles are different, aren't they? So some people might like the sort of chunked approach, some people might not. But yeah, it's great. It's an eye-opener.
For you.
As well, definitely, without showing a sign of bias, I do think the right training provider, the right course, the right content, the right level of engagement. I know you're saying is like right learner, right program. And I genuinely think that is important, whether it's Realise or anything you do in life.
Yeah, that phrase is good, isn't it? Yeah.
The right thing for you. And I, similarly to I've done other things, and I actually just did my degree last year, which Realise actually pointed me in the right direction, because I didn't know where I could go with it. But it was a challenge, because I had to find what was going to be right for me, that worked around my work schedule, my life, what I could commit to, but also what still interested me, because I didn't need to do it, I wanted to. So I think that actually having content
useful,
that's relevant,
doesn't it? Yeah,
useful,
it does. Yeah.
People that are inspiring.
Yeah, absolutely. And we focus on that with our children, individualising what we're doing to make sure that the intent is right for their learning development and we get the right impact. So why don't we talk about that enough as our staff and their progressions and their opportunities? So thinking about that leadership piece, what is it that we could maybe see more of with our nursery managers or nursery leaders to really embrace apprenticeships?
I think I felt passionate about my learners when I was a manager, and I'm also a bit nosy as well. So there was no way I wanted my apprentice to go off and do a qualification without me interfering a little bit, if I'm going to be honest. But I think we just need managers to be hands-on, pay an interest in what they're doing, because we've got this wealth of knowledge as a manager that your learner doesn't have yet, and you're sat right there in their nursery. You can give them so much insight and so much, even just a point in the right direction. And I think sometimes, like the language, I remember an apprentice came to me and she said, Jenny, I don't know how to answer this question. I said, well, what is it? And she said, it's about safeguarding and legislation. And I was like, oof, that is a meaty one. I was like, okay, so tell me what you already know about safeguarding. You tell me. And we got a piece of paper and we just literally did a spider diagram. And I said, well, just jot down everything you know. And then by the end of it, I was like, we've literally just written everything you want to include in your assignment. And she was like, oh my goodness, I know it. I said, of course you do.
They need self-belief, don't they? And they need the confidence to be able to do it.
And you need a manager to drive that, an interested manager that's going to really show an interest. And it took 5 minutes of my day to draw a spider diagram of someone, but it just really helped her.
But that curiosity links back to what we were saying before about actually where can it take you. If we maybe were a little bit more curious in the beginning and actually found out where they wanted to go with their career, when we were asking them what's important to you, what are you thinking about when you come into the sector, why are you here, in that time we would be able to find out actually, okay, this is the right course for you now, but I'm not then going to say let's go straight to level 4 or level 5, because I know actually that you're not really worried about stepping into a leadership role, but actually you've shown a real interest for like SEND or for becoming a better play partner or whatever it may be. So actually I'm going to try and find training or an apprenticeship, or I'm going to work with an apprenticeship provider to create something that meets what you need and helps you get to where you want to go, because I know that, because I asked in the beginning.
Yeah.
Like, are we curious enough about our teams?
I think that comes back to the other point you made earlier, Jordan, about it's a partnership. Actually, the manager or the leader of that setting needs to be invested. It's not just down to the learner, and I think sometimes we do see that. You know, as a leader, you need more qualified people within your team. You want to grow your own, so let's get them in, put them on the study, and we'll see them at the end. You know, what can we do to change that mindset?
You need time to embed it as well, because I spend quite a lot of time, although we're eager for people to move from level 2 to 3 and onwards, we need it to be right for the nursery, for the manager, for the learner. And often I'll say, look, you've got your level 2, I would, if you can, just embed it for 6 months, see how you feel then, because not everyone is a level 3, or at least not yet. Let's give you time to be in that role, because it might not be what you're suited to. There are some brilliant level 2s out there.
And getting that experience on the shop floor as well. You know, like it's so helpful when you're doing your qualification to have that knowledge, that you've got just a little bit of knowledge about what nursery life's about. It makes it so much easier to be able to, you know,
and if they're confident in their role because they've done it for a while, they can breeze through their next level, can't they?
Absolutely.
That time also to be proud of it. Like I just said, I've just recently done my degree. It was September, but I'm still talking about it. And actually,
it'll last for years.
It's all I'm going to talk about. But actually, sometimes some of those apprentices, aren't they? They're saying, okay, I've just done. I haven't even got their certificate in the post, and they are like, so when should I start my next one? And I do think actually sometimes we're like, carry on. But do we take enough time to be like, do you know how amazing that is that you've actually got that? Yes, okay, we can talk about what's next, but for the last year, look at what you've achieved.
They might need a breather, mightn't they? And I think people should be allowed to do that. Because you can sort of burn out if you're doing one thing after another. When's your time to embed and take a breather and think about what you've done?
And managers making it clear that we're going to put that time in, that we're not going to expect them to go straight to the next thing. We're really proud of you too. Okay, if you want it and we think it's right, great. But also we're going to advocate for you and say, I think you need a minute, like you just said. But that's them being on the shop floor relevant.
No, you've got to do this. You've got to. No one thrives under that environment.
No.
So
they definitely need to want to do it and have a reason for it.
And I think that supports with the retention, doesn't it? Because then they feel seen and heard. You know, especially if we think about our youngest learners that have come from college or from school and they jump straight into that apprenticeship. They do their level 2, and then we're like, right, on to the level 3. Like they've never had a break in learning.
So, and they can't necessarily lead yet because they haven't had time. So it's really important.
And it's like, you know, they've maybe not had the opportunity to develop work experience because they're still 100%. Learning. They're in that learning mode of I've got to soak it all up and kind of recite it back and show people that I've got this knowledge. They need the relationships, don't they? They need the relationships with us, with the managers, with their team to make them into good educators. And the apprentices, I just think we've got to have good relationships with them. And that's the only way they're going to succeed. Isn't Absolutely. So we've spoken a lot about the apprentices and the apprenticeships and the impact that can have on our future workforce. But what impact does it have for our children at nursery level? Let's bring it right back to why we're here.
Well, it's massive, isn't it? You know, like this is the whole point of why we're all here, bringing in that new workforce, fresh ideas, you know, all the lovely things that they're learning.
Enthusiasm, because there's a lot of enthusiasm that, you know, if you're doing it day in, day out, you can easily lose that without meaning to.
It refreshes the whole team, doesn't it? When you've got someone who's newly qualified and they've got, we learnt this, and the whole team feels a bit like, okay. You know?
And that happens regardless of age, just touching what you said actually. Sometimes we say about, you know, young, fresh, new, but also, have you ever met an adult that's just learned something new that they're really excited about? They are just as enthusiastic as a newly qualified 18-year-old that's come in. So any age that's doing an apprenticeship fits in that same category, that box, doesn't it? They're going to be so excited and enthusiastic and buzzing to be like, look what I've learned, I'm going to put it into practice. And I think that's really exciting.
Especially if they've had the support from their peers or their leaders. You know, you've believed in me to do this and I'm really excited to share it now I've done it. You know, I've got lots to shout about. What else can it bring to our workforce other than kind of new knowledge?
People that maybe didn't have or think there was a route in for them originally. Because sometimes a lot of people say to me, oh, but I'm not qualified. And I say, but okay, well, join the sector and then become qualified. Oh, I didn't know that was an option. I thought you had to be qualified to work in early years. For people that are external to us, we're like, no, you can come and do an apprenticeship. But for external people, some of them think, if I'm working in childcare education, I have to be qualified, I haven't got that. So, again, change that narrative a little bit.
It brings other influences in, doesn't it? It brings in other people's ideas, that maybe wouldn't have existed before. You know, so there are lots of reasons why we need apprentices, but also why they're useful. So I think, to me it's all about that, really.
Amazing. Before we wrap up our conversation, and I'm just so curious now, a little bit off piste, but we'll go with it. How do we celebrate our apprentices? Because we're saying that it's something we're really proud of, we're something we invest in. How can we celebrate them more? I'm going to start with you, Jordan.
So today, and talking about that, let's change the narrative of what we're posting as well and promoting. Today, what I really love is that one of our level 5s we've realised has just passed with a distinction. They are so excited. So as a setting, the managers obviously got them some flowers, got them a card, but our names are in that card, and it's not just something that's tokenistic as well. I went and visited the setting on Wednesday, and the manager called me and said, because we knew that she was on the course, and the manager called me and said, she's got her results in, this is what she's got, meaning that the first thing I can say when I go through that door is, well done, because we've seen the struggle, so I want to celebrate the success with you. And that meant more to her than just seeing a name and a card, something, but actually it's trying to keep our finger on the pulse, stay relevant, and celebrating with them, but it not being a tokenistic thing, here's a Costa voucher, actually being like, we know how hard this has been for you, and let's get people excited, and the person next to them going to be like, wow, maybe I want to be part of this next time.
No, it's true. We do a lot of, rewards and recognition, but like you say, the card, the flowers is lovely, but it's the relationships. It's about, I can't have the same relationship with apprentices. I can do it from afar. Celebrate through newsletters and cards and emails to them. But the managers are the ones who have to have that relationship, and it's good to try and get not graduations, but some sort of ceremony where we're really shouting about them and what they've achieved. Because I think, like all of us, if you're recognised for what you've done, it has some meaning, doesn't it?
Absolutely, And we do, at Total, we do posts on social media so the parents can celebrate it as well. And the comments that, honestly, I'm not in marketing, but our marketing team will say whenever we put a post up when someone's got an apprentice, got their qualification, the likes and the comments from the parents in that nursery is like, it's
their team, isn't it? So that's lovely.
They're really proud of it, and I love that for them, and the comments are so nice to read. So
it helps the parents know more about apprenticeships and the value of them as well, so that's quite useful, isn't it?
It's really nice to see.
And they do love it, don't they? That makes them feel really proud of something
fame.
they've achieved.
A bit of fame. Oh, that's great. That's a really good way to round up our conversation today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks.